Yes, I'm ready.
Cool. Question number 10.
Number 10 now.
From Hey Naners on Instagram.
That's a hard one to
Hey
say.
Naners.
Hey Naners.
Here's one. How do you approach a situation where someone started out with an e-collar with bad advice, not enough research, and now has a very confused pup? Do you have them take a break? Would the dog forget any weird associations it has developed with collar tabs given some time? Would they be able to restart from scratch if under careful professional guidance? Is the e-collar ruined as a training tool?
Okay,
Take it away.
this is a super awesome question. And I don't know if we've had anybody ask it before, so I'm really excited to answer it. And in some ways, it's a little similar to the last question, but different. And so here's the thing. We get dogs from all over. We get dogs from out of state. We get dogs from other trainers. We get dogs from rescues, from shelters, from families. We get dogs that have been through, like, the family will say, like, you're our 5th trainer. So it's like, God only knows what training approaches have gone down, like what kind of food work or prong work or e-collar work or markers or commands. It's like, literally, God only knows what the dog's been through. And I don't mean that like this. I just mean like God only knows what the dog's been through as far as like education, teaching, training, and things like that. So what we do is we just forget it all. We just start with a clean slate. Now, that said, doesn't mean that we won't see moments where we're like, feels like that dog was probably corrected for this, or that dog was probably done a shit ton of food work with, because whenever food's brought out, this dog like goes through the roof. Doesn't mean he couldn't have just natural food drive, but oftentimes you can see dogs that have done a lot of food work, the way they watch your hands, the way they watch everything that goes down. So what we do is, no matter what, we have our program that we start with, which is basically heel and place. Of course, we start with crate and thresholds first, because before a dog can do anything else, they've got to come into our facility. They've got to move through thresholds, and that's where we create the very beginning, right? So the very beginning of the relationship. Then they've got to be able to go into a crate. That creates a second piece of the relationship. So those are kind of fundamental givens. But past that point, then we move into e-collar heel. E-collar heel is the only command that we move into straight away with e-collar. Everything else we start with prong. There's a reason for it. I'm not going to get into it right now because I've done it in a bunch of other broadcasts, podcasts, TV shows, whatever the hell this thing's called, explaining why we do it like that. It just works better, so you have to take my word on that. But I prefer leash and prong, for all the interior work: sit, down, place, recall. I find it to be easier on the dog. I find it to be less stressful. I find it to be less confusing, because there's direct pressure coming from a human holding a line or a leash that the dog can see, and you can give them very clear guidance. And okay, I'll dive into it really quick. As far as e-collar heel, you can use a prong collar only, but so often dogs are so driven on the walk to pull, that you actually have to be harder on the dog with just a prong collar alone. Whereas if you have a prong collar for guidance and the e-collar, and you're combining both those forces, you can be far more gentle with the dog. So the reason that we've mixed and matched and messed with both of them, what we found is that e-collar heel straight out of the gate, easier on the dog. Prong collar work without an e-collar, for the first stuff, easier on the dog. Can you mix and match? Can you start prong for the walk? Yes. Could you do e-collar stuff straight out of the gate for interior work? Yes. These are about nuanced decisions about what works best for the dogs. That all said, we just jettison any potential, like clients will tell us all the time, well, he's done this, this, and this, and he's done this kind of work. But to be honest, unless you were there watching the trainer do the work with the dog, you really don't know what was done. You really don't know the commands. You don't know the timing. You don't know how good it was. Don't know how bad it was. You really don't know anything. So all you can do is just clean slate it and just hopefully have your own program that you really feel solid about and just build from there. And that's how we do it. And I can only imagine how many dogs come and see us after having been through God only knows what kind of training protocols and confusion and stuff like that. That's the great thing about dogs. They're super adaptable. Once you start sharing a consistent program with, here are the commands, this command means this, we're going to be very fair, we're going to teach you very fair and slow, here are the markers, these markers mean this, here's how the pressure works, here's how the e-collar works, and you do all that, and it replaces all of that old stuff. Now, could you see possibly some residual effect of a dog that was like, who knows, maybe blasted for something, you know, like eating poop in the backyard or counter surfing? You could, but I'm telling you, for all the dogs we get, which are hundreds and hundreds of dogs a year, and like I said, we're usually second, third, fourth, fifth trainer, God only knows what they've been through, but they all seem to do fantastic with the program. So my suggestion would be to kind of let go of the anxiety of, do we need to get rid of this tool because it's probably been used wrong, or maybe it's been used wrong, and instead start from scratch, reprogram, reboot, and restart the dog in the appropriate fashion, and the dog will come along just fine. We haven't had a problem with that yet with a dog that's clear-headed.
Reinforcement trainers who don't know how to teach markers properly. Does it mean that you can't teach markers anymore? It means you have to retrain the dog. Or like, if I have a shitty math teacher and they teach me something wrong, does it mean I can't learn math anymore?
That's a great example.
I still can. I just have to be retaught.
Right.
So just
or history class. They teach you the wrong dates or the wrong details about a history thing.
An experience that you dislike, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is an experience that you don't like. Like, I had a shitty dentist. Does it mean I'm not going to go to a dentist anymore because I still have to go to a dentist, but hopefully you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's about
but that's a great example. So I like your math example. I like my history example too. And if you think,
that came after my math.
Okay, I know, but I think mine's even
took
better.
It from me.
But I think it's really important that if you think about it like that how many things have you learned that haven't been right or might have been confusing?
Or the experience wasn't great.
Right, wasn't great, or was confusing or worrisome, but then somebody or something came along, helped you get back on the path, and then you learn the correct way, and you're fine. We're all resilient, and dogs are so resilient and so adaptable that if you do a good job of restarting, I think you got a really great shot at them being fantastic. What I want to close this out with is that it's really important for dog trainers, but especially dog owners, to understand that you're most likely not going to be perfect. Not most likely, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be at levels that are too high or levels that are too low. Your timing is going to miss. You're going to have moments where you're like, fuck, I did the wrong thing. I messed it up. But the whole thing is, if you just go back and redo it and make it better, make it better, make it better, make it better, you'll get to where you've got a great situation with your dog. So her dogs, even though she was finding her way, she did have resources. Was it perfect? No. Did she make mistakes? Yes. But she's got dogs that recall perfectly, that will hold downs around other dogs running around perfectly. She's got dogs she can walk anywhere. So obviously it worked. And that's kind of the cool thing to take away from this whole program, is that you don't have to be perfect to be successful. You want to shoot for as high as you can, but you also have to give yourself a break. You have to give yourself some slack and know you're going to make mistakes. All of us make mistakes. Even like having done this for years and years and years, I'll still watch a video and be like, what the hell was I doing? Or that timing was off, or it was this, or it was that. And dogs, if you're like 90% of the time in a good space, they're going to do just fine.